Well, hello everyone, I'm Postmaster Radio and it's time to bring on the funny. You're listening to Ujokes Weekly, the official podcast highlighting Jonathan Mangum's virtual comedy show Ujokes, where comedians, plus the fellow Ujokes audience, you guys too, you can compete for the chance to take a win with the best joke. It is literally comedy gold at your fingertips. This week, we're taking a look back on last week's Ujokes shows. From last Monday, Giulia Rozzi versus Ethanberlin. And then just a short few days ago, this past Friday night, very special Ujokes show. From whoseline Greg Proops and Jeffdavis. Oh yeah, what a great batch of shows from last week. But before we officially dive into this comedy-filled pool, a couple of quick things. First off, as usual, if you missed the most recent Ujokes podcast, catch up now, link in the description. Also, to continuing listeners and brand new ones, thank you so much for joining me on this week's podcast. If you're listening from YouTube, please be sure to like and subscribe. And for more Ujokes fun, well, the next all-new show is coming up on Monday, March 1st, and there will also be another show coming to the Ujokes YouTube channel, but we'll talk more about that at the end of this week's podcast, so keep listening. And I also want to let you know, those of you that were able to listen live last night will know this, but in case you are having trouble finding yesterday's Ujokes show, you know, the one with Tatiana Godfrey and Jared Logan, well, long story short, the Wi-Fi from where Jonathan is, it went out completely. There was no internet for Jonathan, so he ended up having to do the show entirely live streamed from his phone last night. And to put it lightly, it was kind of a hot mess. A hilariously hot mess, but nonetheless a hot mess. That's why that particular Ujokes show is no longer on the YouTube channel. And Jonathan, if you're listening, I am so sorry that you had to go through that, technological crap fest. And I hope you are not put in this situation again, because to those of you that weren't watching live last night, the internet went bye-bye just as Jonathan was about to start the Ujokes show, as the broadcast itself was about to happen. So that's why that Ujokes show, if you didn't get to watch it, well, too bad for you, because that's not on the YouTube channel anymore. And so that's why we're going to skip yesterday's Ujokes show. We're not going to discuss it at all. Hashtag sorry, not sorry, but what can you do? Hopefully Tatiana and Jared will be back on the show in the future, and they will, not be thrusted into low-budget Ujokes. No offense to Jonathan, because obviously these were not ideal circumstances last night. But anyway, you get the idea. We're skipping over yesterday's Ujokes show. Let's just jump right into last week's big batch. As usual, we start with the top 5 countdown, and at spot number 5 on the countdown, here's where we get to Ethanberlin and Giulia Rozzi. This is a game called Inspirational Poster, and I'm giving this to the whole game. Now, in the game Inspirational Poster, and those of you that have watched Ujokes before will already know the rules, but based on the picture shown, which in this case, 2 men, one of which looks like he's about to use some drilling tool on his head, you have to come up with an inspirational saying. I will give a shout out to Melissa H on YouTube, whose joke was plucked from the YouTube live chat to support Team Audience. You got this was her joke. Not too bad, but I feel like Ethan and Giulia dominated that game. Sorry, Team Audience. That being said, I think Giulia Rozzi kind of took the win for this game. Don't get me wrong, Ethanberlin did a pretty solid job with his joke.
The journey of 1,000 miles begins with, oh God!
But in terms of who was the better comedian from the night, trying to pick between Giulia Rozzi and Ethanberlin, I would have to go with Giulia Rozzi, because Ethanberlin, I will not question his comedic potential, because I assume he is a talented and funny comedian. So, yeah, sorry if you're listening to this, Ethan. But I enjoyed Giulia Rozzi's jokes even more, especially this one.
Live life to the fullest because we're all screwed.
Case in point. And still on Giulia Rozzi at spot number 4 on the countdown, time to go to a game called What Are They Thinking? Or in this case, What Is the DJ Baby Thinking? That was the picture that was shown, a baby with headphones using a DJ set. Aw, baby's first mix. Isn't that cute? Well, anyway, based on that pick, Giulia had to determine what would this baby be thinking. Yeah, Giulia, Gotta give you some props on this one.
I'm gonna drop this beat because I don't know how to use my hands yet.
Oh yeah, not a bad joke, right? But now, here is where we get to Greg Proops and Jeff Davis, not only for spot number 3 on the countdown, but also for the rest of the Ujokes countdown. Yeah, you heard me. And for these remaining spots, it's for the entirety of the games. Yeah, pretty rare that much of the Ujokes top 5 for this week goes to complete games rather than only one specific joke. But anyway, on with it. So spot number 3, this is for Name the Movie, and this was the picture of a big human being with a cat head and a black cat with the head that should have gone on the human but did not. Shout out to Christopher Vos on the YouTube chat for his joke, Apocalypse Meow. But Greg and Jeff kind of really stole the show with the game. So Greg's joke was Cat People 2, this time it's personal, but then cue Jeff Davis because I don't know if it was him who said this or was it Jonathan first, but somebody was like, why didn't you do a cat pun? And then Greg makes a correction to his joke. Oh, I'm sorry, it's personal. And then even then, Jeff's like, no, you should have done personal. I'm kind of with Jeff on this one, but I feel like Greg's joke held its own ground too, you know? But maybe that's why Jeff was the winner of that game, not only because of putting the old claws to work and scratching out Greg's joke and modifying it, but he also had his own joke, so that probably helped a little bit as well, more so correcting Greg's otherwise catastic joke, which, you know, I'm feline fine about, but whatever. Jeff's joke was pretty good as well. Catwoman 2, The Dark Nana Rises. Yeah, a perfect game. Now moving up the ladder at spot number 2 on the countdown. Again, still on Greg and Jeff's show, same deal for the remainder of the countdown. This time the game is Ruineddate. The picture in this case, a man and a woman, peanut butter and jelly outfits. Now, of course, put them together and you get PB&J, unless someone says a certain something that ultimately ruins the date. That's the point of the Ruineddate game. Shout out to Nightlight Mary, whose joke was, I already nutted on myself. Not one of my personal favorites from the night, but I gotta say, it was pretty good. Plus, Jeff was actually going to do a nut joke. He's like, oh, damn it, I was going to do a nut joke. Why didn't I do a nut joke? Oh, well, though, what can you do? I will say Jeff had a good joke nonetheless. For him, what ruined the date was that the lady said to the man, I don't think you can handle this jelly. Greg, meanwhile, I liked that he was confident enough for a Greg Proops victory dance, which blew me away. I mean, that's why Greg Proops is the minister of groove. But anyway, this was Greg's joke, with the line being, this was supposed to be a peanut butter and banana sandwich, but you didn't bring one. Also, said by the lady. Would I be wrong in saying that those were delicious ways to ruin the date? Seriously, would I not be correct in saying that? And now, not all playings of this game do a great job of ending a Ujokes show on a hilariously happy note like this one. It's the happy hour game, where based on the pick shown, you gotta come up with the name of the drink. Superman fans won't soon forget this one for the picture of the Man of Steel himself drinking at a bar. But in addition to Jeff and Greg playing the game, there was also Last Show's Best, a guy by the name of Brett Saul. And just in case you're wondering, who the hell is Brett Saul and why is he playing with Greg and Jeff? Well, that's the point of Last Show's Best. Unfortunately, not everyone can compete on Ujokes Live, so that's why that if you miss a given live stream, go back to the show, which I think has now moved to YouTube only, because there have been some technical difficulties with Facebook. I'm not sure if the move to YouTube only and only YouTube is a permanent adjustment. Point being, this guy who had missed the show that came before Greg and Jeff's, he went back, submitted a joke of his own in the YouTube comment section, which is what you gotta do as well. I'm not sure if that's going to be the case for the following Ujokes show this coming Monday, just because of last night's technical difficulties, but for future cases, if you do miss a Ujokes show, go back to YouTube and use the comment section to submit your own joke for one of the games. Jonathan and his producer Josh will go back, they will look through all of the jokes submitted, and if they pick yours, congratulations, you'll get to play in the final round of the following Ujokes show. Pretty exciting. But now let's see what Brett, Greg, and Jeff's jokes were. And I gotta warn you in advance, there is a whole lot of smack talk about what qualifies as a good drinking joke/pun and what does not. There's even a little bit of lip syncing involved, but I'll just let this entire last game do the talking.
Brett Saul, what is he drinking? That is the Mr. Mrs. Piddleick shooter. The more that you drink, the easier it is to say his name.
There's a Superman joke.
That's a good one, man. Good one. Let's move up. Greg, what's he drinking?
He's drinking Fortress of Solitude Johnny Walker Red.
Now, wait a minute, Greg. You just took a Superman thing and just added it to what he's actually drinking.
All right, let me have another one here.
No, Greg, we were all witness to you completely just giving up.
I've got going if you want. I'm ready anytime. Here, Greg, you move your lips and Brett tell the joke.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah. This drink name is the Rough Rider. One shot too many and you can't walk. Oh, what?
Nice.
Hey,
And I could have said...
Greg said that one, not me. Shame on you, Greg.
I could have done, faster than a speeding bullet or whatever.
It is your turn, Mr. Davis. What is Superman drinking?
This is actually a drink created in Louisville, Kentucky, Brett. It's called Faster Than a Speeding Bullet Rye.
Whoa. I don't see how that one sits any higher on the paradigm than mine did.
I combined a Superman reference with an alcohol reference. You just said vodka, Lois Lane.
There actually is a bourbon called Bullet Bourbon, too, so good job.
See? So you ripped it off. There's really already one.
You are the accidental jokist.
Oh boy, if that doesn't give you any indication of how crazy, insane, and above all else, funny those jokes were, and funny that game was, I don't know what will. I will give a bonus shout out to Gail Goodapple from the YouTube chat, who had a pretty good joke. It was picked by Jonathan's producer Josh, a Super Clark double malt nipple tweaker. But for me, Greg Proops, Jeff Davis, and Brett Saul kind of took the crown away from Gail. Sorry, Gail, if you're listening, but good joke anyway. Well played. And now it's time for the Ujokes Awards. First things first, Comedian of the Week, kind of an obvious pick, but I'm going to give it to Greg and Jeff. Again, that is how amazing their Ujoke show was. Game of the Week is Happy Hour for the same reason. Audience Award for the best joke submitted by the Ujokes audience. Definitely going to give it to Brett Saul, not only for his jokes from Happy Hour, but just in general because he was an amazing contestant on the Ujoke show. And as for Manga Moment, well, I think I'm going to give it to the multiple comments that he made during the Happy Hour game. Plus, again, bonus shout out to him barely managing to do yesterday's Ujoke show despite the technological crapfest. Seriously, gotta give you some props for that too, Jonathan. And I guess that's it for the Ujokes Awards. Now, normally after this, we would have Ujokes Extras filled with bonus jokes that don't make it on to the Ujokes Top 5, but as it turns out, we kind of covered all of my favorite jokes from last week. So, not only was this the shortest Ujokes Award ceremony in the history of the Ujokes podcast, but also, that is pretty much it for this week's Ujokes podcast, except for a couple of final things. First, although the next Ujokes show is coming on Monday, March the 1st at 6 p.m. Pacific Time, 9 p.m. Eastern, please note that the next Ujokes podcast will not be available until Tuesday, March 9th, because keep in mind, I'm now releasing new podcasts every other week. Plus, also beginning on March 1st, and I presume that this will be immediately after new episodes of Ujokes, another comedy show. It will also be on the Ujokes YouTube channel for easy access. Carolyn Page, who was a contestant before on the show, will be hosting FMK Champions. I have no idea what that show entails just yet. Maybe we'll learn more details on next week's show. We'll see. Also, don't forget to stay connected with me on Twitter, Instagram, at Postmaster Radio. You'll also find the Ujokes podcast on YouTube, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio. The account links are all in the description. Thanks again for listening, and until next time, well, bye for now. See ya!